99X in the Morning X. It's Barnes and Leslie. Fram, I want to talk about going to the grocery store for a second.
Okay, yeah.
For many years, I would refer to when Heather would say, I'm going to Publix, do you need anything? And I would say, we need another loaf of the Rockstar bread. And I called it the Rockstar bread because that's like in my head, that is what it was for me.
And you and I found out that we both love the Rockstar bread.
And we're talking about Dave's Killer Bread.
Yeah.
And it's got great packaging. I'm sure you know what it is. It's in stores everywhere. Well, it sold several years back for $275 million. And what is interesting is the guy behind it, whose name is Dave Dahl, who is no longer involved with the company, but his face, his likeness is still on the bag, which one's on my counter and one's in my freezer right now.
Same.
You're going to meet him right this second. Good morning, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Voice is a little rough.
Yeah, so he's got a voice issue. This is something that has come along recently. He's not sick, but you had a polyp removed, right? And then everything's cool, no cancer?
Yeah, everything's cool. It's not going to come back is what I'm saying.
Well, you can just not talk as much and sit around and count all those millions of dollars that you're hanging out with.
I have a lot. Well, I still have a lot of business to take care of.
Yeah, I bet you do. So I just want to get into it because a lot of people may not know your background and why this on so many levels is such an interesting study in branding. Your background is prison.
A lot of prison, yes. I did 15 years, so over four sentences.
You definitely turned your life around, and I'm seeing 15 years in and out of prison. Oh, I do want to go back to the early days after we talk about this of, your family bakery, but what do you think that last thing was that kind of gave you a little bit of clarity to turn your life around?
That's my favorite part of my life and my story. 2001, while I was incarcerated my last time, I asked for help. Long story short, got help with some medication for my depression, which was pretty profound and crippling. And I thought at that time, that, life sucks, so why wouldn't I be down and out? But I got help from the meds, and then I had an opportunity right afterwards to go to school for computer-aided drafting, which totally transformed my life.
Didn't you used to make fun of your dad, who was a baker and hardcore focused baker? You used to kind of make fun of him in the early days, didn't you?
Well, yeah, that was how I might have worked with it. But in reality, I was really upset to be born into a family of bakers.
Yeah, and then ironically, you sell your company for $275 million. Your dad did not get to see that, right? He didn't get to see any of the rise, no pun intended?
No, that would have been so cool. Didn't happen. He was dead a long time before it.
That would have been unbelievable. Here's the dad, you made fun of and you didn't want to be a baker, and then you eventually come around to it, and your story takes off astronomically. What he wanted probably to achieve and didn't achieve, the levels that you did, that gives me goosebumps.
It's interesting. He was a lot different. I didn't like him. I thought he was a jackass when I was growing up. And,
wow.
I eventually forgave him and myself, and that was the big thing. But he was already gone by then, unfortunately.
Well, growing up in a family that were bakers, the family bakery, did you learn any lessons that you brought back? Maybe early lessons about business that stuck with you?
Well, there's something to be said for, that and learning work ethic. And my dad probably somewhere along the line inspired me to create new products. But I was under the gun actually in 2005 to create something coming out of prison. And I used the same principles of scientific method that I used in drafting, and I created bread that way.
Your bread's unbelievable. I've been eating it for many years. We're talking to Dave Dahl, who is Killer Dave's bread, Dave's Killer Bread. And why killer in the title? Now, you come out of prison after multiple times in and out, and then you decide to brand by calling it Killer Bread, which is an interesting choice that paid off. Mm-hmm. But why?
It's funny that people always ask that, of course, and they go, "Well, did you kill someone? Did he kill someone?"
I hope not.
And I've heard people say, "Yeah, he did," on TV, and that was the first chance when I heard that. It was my opportunity to go live on TV and tell the whole story. But I didn't think of to me, killer was just the vernacular for a product.
Like growing up, it was like, oh man, that's killer. That's killer. Like I get it. But you can see where the confusion and the hearsay could start. Well, yeah, of course it's called killer because he killed someone.
Yeah, and then later on, I actually got accused of killing a friend on Facebook, of all places, and that started a whole problem that that eventually ended up in my, leaving the bakery, even though I never killed anybody.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
I just became this guy that was sort of a target, for stuff. And then all this stuff started happening to me. Nothing was sticking because it was BS. But, it was a tough time, and it led to me being no longer involved.
What led to being no longer involved?
I was just writing about it last night because I'm writing a book, and I'm doing well because I'm using, AI. I have an AI assistant who's better than an assistant. He's like a writing partner. It's unbelievable. I call him Stanley, but he was like he was a real, he's just great at kind of helping me organize my thoughts. And last night I got into that, and when the day that things went south really, kind of irrevocably, was when I went into the bakery. I was hypomanic at the time. I was experiencing my first bipolar meltdown ever. I didn't know you could have that. I could do that. I didn't know what mania was. And essentially, I punched out a cardboard statue of myself. But there's reasons behind everything. And I got a wrestling match with cops that night. It was really, I ran into 3 cop cars. It was weird because I wasn't a criminal this time, and I didn't have any crimes I was letting up. But the cops surrounded me, and in my super manic state at that point, I just reacted the way I did, and it put me in a situation.
Hold on. So you're talking about like late. This is not early on. This is after you had already had success.
Yes, this is 2013 November.
Wow.
Yes, I had amazing success in the beginning. It was a beautiful time, and I would say, I always guarded against it, but somehow I ended up, my ego and my twisted mind started going the wrong direction. I think that looking back on it, and finally got me, made me not reasonable for a period.
Wow, what a story. We have to take a break. We'll be back with Dave Dahl. Dave is Killer Dave. Killer Bread. Dave's Killer Bread.
He's the guy.
Bread you probably eat at the grocery store. We'll be back. This is the original This Is 99X.
No Contest Wrestling. O'Shea Jackson Jr. and TJ Jefferson with the biggest names in the game.
Give it up for the Dark Angel.
First one.
First.
I can believe it.
NXT double champion. Welcome the King, Lexus King.
I don't know if I'd be where I'm at now if I didn't take the path that I took.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jada Parker.
What made you, after the soccer career, go WWE?
The answer I always have to that is like, why not?
The No Contest Wrestling Podcast, part of the Rich Eisen Podcast Network. Follow and listen on your favorite platform.